Hello and welcome to the vlog. I've been here at Hawkesbury for 6 days now and it's time to move on. I want to head up towards the Ashby Canal, but with two diversions along the route. First of all, just round the corner from here is a water point, and having been here 6 days, I probably should top up the water tank again. And then once I've gone through Hawkesbury Junction itself, I'm going to turn south away from the direction of the Ashby Canal, because about a mile down the canal towards Coventry there appears to be a large Tesco Extra supermarket, and I definitely need some more food. Then I will go a little bit further on, turn around at a winding hole and head back north again, and hopefully make it to, well, just the start of the Ashby Canal by the end of today's travels. Before I set off, I just want to show you something about how I've moored here. Although the canal side is metalwork, there's no straight edge to line up against, and I needed my fenders to hang where the metal would rub against the boat. On this one it was fine, it lined up correctly, but my other fenders dangled in the wrong places, and I'm stuck with the fender points I have because my roof grab rail is solid, so I can't just tie the fenders off it where I want. Even if I shuffled the boat forward or back a fraction, one or more of the fenders were not going to line up. You can buy plastic dangly things to hang off my type of roof, but they're costly, so instead I banged some spare mooring pins into the ground at the places I needed fending off and tied the fenders to those instead of the boat. This worked perfectly. Just round this corner on the right are two water points, and that's where I was headed first of all. As I approached, I could see a boat coming through the stop lock, which I'd be going through later. If I thought the last water point was slow, this one beat it hands down, a pathetic dribble going into the tank, but no hurry. While I waited, I went to film the stop lock. These were built not so much to change the water level, but to act as a barrier between the canals, used to force working boats to pause and pay a toll as they switched from one canal to another. That is the old toll house, and as you exit the lock and go under the bridge, you switch from the North Oxford to the Coventry Canal. With the water tank full, I saw another boat coming through, so switched sides onto the lock landing and waited for them to emerge. This takes mere minutes with the shallow depth of the stop lock. It only goes up or down by a few inches. Then I was straight in, and it was time to do my first lock of 2019. First I shut the gate behind me and dropped the sluice paddle to stop water continuing to flow into the lock as I descended. Then I opened the bottom sluice paddle to let the lock water out. The boat dropped those few inches to the level of the Coventry Canal, and I could open the bottom gate. I edged the boat out, stopping to shut the gate behind me, and then I had to make the 90-degree right turn under the bridge, followed by a sharp left to head south. I don't know what these CRT folk were doing, but they had a digger on that workboat, so maybe some dredging? I think there is a programme of dredging on the Coventry at the moment. There's an art trail as you go down the canal, with this bridge sculpture, the first piece seen, coming from this direction. According to the map, about a mile down this way, I should be able to moor up, cross the road and get to Tesco. This shouldn't take long then. Under the M6 again, and then through the surprisingly green suburbs of Coventry. Construction began on this canal in 1768 under the famous engineer James Brindley. It opened in 1790. Above this bridge is another artwork, a metal sign showing the route of the canal into the city centre. And this stone sofa is another one of the 27 artworks on display. Just over the houses you can see the Coventry Arena, where concerts and such like are held. Unfortunately, but typically for an urban canal, there was a ton of litter. It really was gross. I got out my shrimping net and picked up a few bottles, but it made little difference. According to the map, just after the next bridge and before the one after that, there is a winding hole. So let's hope there is one, and let's hope it's big enough for me to turn and not all silted up and full of shopping trolleys. There's the winding hole, and yes, it was full of junk. No one was coming, so it was all clear to turn. Lots of new houses here, some of which are still being built, but most seem to have sold stickers in the windows. And after a quiet morning, suddenly it was rush hour. Up ahead you can just see steps from the towpath to the road, and from there you can get to the shops. I'd been mooring on the right, so a quick check that my stern rope was on the correct side. With the boat barely moving, I pulled into the side and stepped off with the centreline. Just avoided a collision with the cyclist. If there were bollards here, I'd wrap the rope around one to bring the boat to a halt, but there weren't, so I had to shed the last bit of momentum by sheer brute force and digging in my heels. With the boat stopped and the bow on the Armco, I used the rope to pivot the boat so the back would come in too. The boat was now lined up and stationary, ready for tying up. I tend to do a very quick and basic knot at the back just to hold it in place for a moment while I run to the bow and tie that up before it floats gently away from the side. Then I go back and tie the back more substantially. You can't get much closer to the shops than this. There's the boat, and there's the supermarket. A quick hop over the bridge and I'll be trolleyed. If you ever come this way, there is lots of good mooring here with metal Armco to tie up to. Ed of Ed's Narrowboat tells me lots of boaters moored here when the Rolling Stones played the arena and all heard the gig for free. Stupidly, my own lunch purchase included another wretched plastic bottle, but I did at least bin it. According to the canal guide, around here is where the original join between the North Oxford and Coventry canals was, before it was shifted back to Hawkesbury. I'm not sure if this indent is the exact spot, but it does seem possible. There's always one or two ducklings that end up on the wrong side of the boat to their mum, and much anxious quacking ensues. Fear not, they always end up reunited. Nice little residential mooring basin here, looks really pleasant. And here's Hawkesbury again. I was going straight on, but I could see another boat coming this way, which might want to turn under the bridge, so I held back and waited for it to avoid any confusion and to stay out of the way. These dogs loved barking at the boats turning under the bridge. Onwards and northwards through this tiny gap, which was another stop lock once, I believe. And there's the old pump house, which used to bring water into the canal from deep underground. Long-term canal and river trust moorings on the left. And yet more water points on the right. Hawkesbury is blessed with about 5 or 6 water points. That's a cute little boat. And although it's not pretty, I do think a raised bow locker like this would be immensely useful. From here to the junction with the Ashby Canal, it's largely green and rural, despite being on the edge of the town of Bedworth. Some very nice gardens onto the canal here. This place is now sold, despite the sign. £1 million apparently. More dredging here, I presume.
The interesting thing about the turn into the Ashby, at least from this direction, is that it is a sharp 90-degree right into a channel that is only just wider than the Narrowboat. And you can't see if anything's coming the other way. So this will either go spectacularly well, or I'll do a many point turn to get in there with quite a lot of banging and swearing. So, this is the Ashby Canal, which I hear only good things about, other than it being quite shallow. Very rural, even here at the start. And rather nice stone bridges rather than brick. That was enough for one day, so I stopped here, just short of Bridge 3. Cheerio.